Millionaire husband takes his mistress shopping, but pregnant wife surprises them both. In a glittering corner of downtown Manhattan, where money and power converge, a simple afternoon shopping trip spirals into a powder keg of scandal. Marcus Holcomb, a self-made millionaire known for his flashy social media posts and hush-hush business deals, steps into a high-end boutique with Tamara Price on his arm, a woman most certainly not his pregnant wife. But he has no idea that his unsuspecting wife, Jessica, has decided to do some shopping of her own that very same day. Before the designer handbags are even wrapped, secrets will collide, alliances will shift, and a shocking encounter will transform all three of their lives forever. Marcus Holcomb was the type of man who believed that wealth could smooth over any imperfection. Standing in the marble-floored living room of his luxury penthouse overlooking the shimmering skyline of Manhattan, he felt invincible. He'd grown up in a modest Connecticut suburb, flipping burgers at a local diner as a teen. Yet by age 35, he'd amassed a small fortune through a combination of real estate deals and tech investments. A key turning point came when he managed to snag an early partnership with a startup endorsed by Elon Musk, catapulting his earnings into the stratosphere. People often compared him to the likes of Mark Cuban or Richard Branson, but Marcus preferred to style himself as a man of mystery, the sort who'd appear at exclusive galas in a tailored suit but vanish as soon as cameras got too close. Publicly, he was known for philanthropy, funding STEM programs for underprivileged youth and donating to hurricane relief funds. Privately, he enjoyed fast cars, high-stakes poker games, and, lately, the company of a captivating woman named Tamara Price. His wife, Jessica Holcomb, had once been the woman of his dreams. She was calm, poised, and radiantly beautiful, an elementary school teacher with a heart of gold. They married 6 years ago in an extravagant wedding. The photos made the society pages, with reporters waxing poetic about Jessica's elegance and Marcus's rags to riches story. Now, as Jessica approached her 8th month of pregnancy, the promise of fatherhood should have softened Marcus's heart. Instead, it seemed to push him further into a life of distractions. That morning, Jessica was in their bedroom, waking to soft rays of sunlight and the gentle murmuring of morning traffic. She stretched her arms over her growing belly, an involuntary smile forming. The baby's kicks offered reassurance that, despite Marcus's increasingly erratic behavior, a piece of her future was bright and full of hope. She had noticed the late-night phone calls Marcus tried to disguise, the sly text messages he dismissed with a wave. Yet she believed in giving him the benefit of the doubt until she could no longer ignore the obvious. Marcus's phone buzzed on the kitchen island. He glanced at it, saw Tamara's name flashing, and quickly slipped the phone into his pocket. Glancing down the hallway to ensure Jessica was still in the bedroom, he quietly put on his shoes. His mind hummed with anticipation for the clandestine rendezvous he'd planned. If all went smoothly, Jessica would remain none the wiser. Little did Marcus realize that fate and Jessica's intuition were conspiring against him already. Tamara Price had grown up chasing fame. She'd worked the modeling circuit in her early 20s, doing runway shows for up-and-coming fashion brands. She brushed shoulders with celebrities like Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber backstage, though she never quite attained the same star power. Over time, Tamara discovered that her real passion wasn't walking the runway, but living the high life it offered. She liked the glitz and glamour of 6IP treatment, private jets, and black tie soirees. When modeling gigs became scarce, she found her next best ticket, cozying up to wealthy men. Her first serious arrangement ended in a fiasco with a London hedge fund manager who turned out to be married. Tamara told herself she'd never repeat that mistake, but life has a way of testing our convictions. She met Marcus at a private charity event, the kind where billionaires sip expensive champagne while smiling for cameras that never quite capture the truth behind the facade. Marcus had approached Tamara with that cocky grin, offering her a glass of Dom Perignon. Their connection sizzled, though neither said it out loud at first. Over the following weeks, curiosity morphed into desire. Tamara craved the sense of importance that came with Marcus's wealth. Marcus, for his part, was drawn to her youthful energy and the distraction she provided from his marital tensions. Eventually, Tamara learned that Marcus was not only married, but his wife was pregnant. She felt a pang of guilt, but not enough to walk away from the lavish dinners, spontaneous weekend getaways, or the promise that maybe, just maybe, Marcus would leave his wife for her. Around midday, Tamara slipped into a chic black designer dress and Louboutin heels. She had an appointment to meet Marcus at the exclusive Winford Galleria, an upscale shopping haven for the city's elite. A new boutique had just opened, featuring limited edition handbags by a famed Parisian designer, and Tamara was determined to flaunt her new accessory at an upcoming gallery opening. As she applied a final coat of red lipstick in the mirror, Tamara reminded herself that all was fair in love and war. She had to keep Marcus happy, hold his attention even as she felt the shadow of his pregnant wife looming. In a city of endless secrets and shifting allegiances, she had to play her cards right. At least for now, she believed she held the winning hand. Jessica stood by the bedroom window, watching Marcus's sleek sports car pull out of the building's private garage below. She breathed a long, steadying sigh. For weeks, she had battled an overwhelming sense of unease. As a teacher, she'd developed sharp instincts for when something was off. Lately, that instinct was telling her that Marcus was lying more than usual, fabricating business meetings at odd hours or slipping away with vague excuses. Though she loathed prying, pregnancy hormones and a gnawing fear for her marriage compelled her to check Marcus's phone on a hunch. Earlier that morning, while he showered, the phone had vibrated with a text message. She saw the name Tamara pop up. The words were seared into her mind. "Excited to see you at Winford Galleria." I picked out the perfect outfit. It confirmed her worst suspicions. Her knees had gone weak, and she'd nearly dropped the phone. Still, a surprising clarity came over Jessica. She had a choice: remain at home, feeling powerless, or confront the situation head-on. After all, if she didn't protect her soon-to-arrive child, who would? Jessica made a quick call to her friend, Vanessa Morgan, a no-nonsense attorney who had been Jessica's roommate in college. Vanessa didn't mince words. "Document everything, Jess. If this is what you think it is, you'll need evidence." The conversation ended with a plan. Jessica would go to Winford Galleria, see the affair with her own eyes, and decide her next move. Her heart hammered in her chest as she dressed in a loose-fitting but stylish maternity ensemble. Despite the tension, she still hoped she was mistaken, that perhaps Tamara was a colleague or a business contact. But deep down, she knew better. She'd seen the tension in Marcus's eyes, the same tension she'd once spotted in other cheating husbands who came to parent-teacher conferences with forced smiles. As she locked up the penthouse, Jessica made a silent vow to her unborn child. "I will not let us be treated like an afterthought." This vow gave her the courage to face whatever truth awaited at Winford Galleria. She might not be a billionaire, but she had something even more valuable: resolve, fortified by love for her child and an unwavering sense of justice. Today would mark a turning point in her life, one that neither Marcus nor Tamara could easily erase. Chapter 4. The prestigious Winford Galleria, Winford Galleria, located in the heart of the city's most affluent commercial district, was widely hailed by the wealthy and famous as a shopping paradise. In whispered conversations among the elite, one often heard that there was nothing too luxurious to be found here, from rare handbags by legendary Parisian designers to intricately crafted diamond jewelry made exclusively to order. The vast space with its gleaming marble floors, soaring neoclassical columns, and glittering crystal chandeliers was reminiscent of a European palace's grand hall. From a distance, Jessica already felt overwhelmed by this display of grandeur. She rarely visited places this extravagant, aside from the occasional special outing with Marcus when he wanted her to pick an event outfit or simply show off his wife to his business circle. But this time, her purpose for coming here could not have been more different: to find proof of the secret relationship she had long suspected. The moment she stepped through the towering glass doors, Jessica was hit by the lavishness of it all. Sophisticatedly dressed shoppers gliding across the polished floors, classical music drifting in the air, and the subtle hint of expensive perfume. Instead of excitement or admiration, she felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. Beneath her light coat, she instinctively placed a hand over her pregnant belly, as though wanting to reassure herself and her unborn child that whatever happened next would bring the truth to light. She quickly scanned the crowd, trying to maintain her composure. Illuminated signs of prestigious brands beamed from every direction: Remington Jewels, Fiorina Couture, and especially Eclair du Luxe, the famed handbag boutique offering limited edition designs. Jessica's mind flashed to the message she had read on Marcus's phone. "Can't wait to see you at Winford Galleria. I've picked the perfect outfit." The words still churned in her thoughts, fueling her dread. Then she spotted him. Marcus stood in front of Eclair du Luxe, arms folded across his tailored suit jacket, exuding a confident, almost relaxed air with a touch of self-satisfaction. He looked exactly as he did in those high-profile business magazine features, impeccably groomed, shoes polished to a shine, and a posture that seemed to dare anyone to challenge him. Next to Marcus stood a striking woman with wavy chestnut hair, clad in a form-fitting black dress. Her face was radiant, her eyes sparkling with delight she made no effort to hide. Every so often, she rested her hand lightly on Marcus's arm in a gesture of easy intimacy. Jessica needed no further introductions. This had to be Tamara, the one who had texted her husband. For an instant, Jessica's mind went blank as a wave of emotions crashed over her: pain, fury, and above all, disbelief at Marcus's blatantly public display of infidelity. He wasn't just betraying her, he was boldly flaunting another woman in a place so lavish it felt designed for a grand, cruel spectacle. She stepped back behind a marble column, her heart pounding. She pulled out her phone, recalling Vanessa, her friend and lawyer, who had advised her, "Gather evidence. Don't let him deny it if you decide to confront him." Holding the phone with a trembling hand, Jessica switched to video mode. She zoomed in and fought to keep her grip steady, capturing footage of Marcus standing so cozily with Tamara in front of the store entrance. A moment later, Tamara beamed a dazzling smile. A store assistant emerged, arms loaded with the latest product brochures, inviting the pair inside. Marcus placed a light, courteous hand on Tamara's lower back, exuding an air of casual gallantry. For one heartbreaking instant, Jessica recalled all the times he had done the same for her, back when they were newlyweds. The contrast felt like 1,000 knives cutting into her heart. She continued recording, filming Marcus murmuring something in Tamara's ear that made the other woman laugh, then nod in agreement. Together, they crossed the threshold of Eclair du Luxe, a boutique famous for ultra-rare handbags priced in the tens of thousands of dollars, usually reserved only for the brand's loyal clientele or the ultra-rich with special connections. Summoning her resolve, Jessica slipped in after them, leaving a few seconds gap. Inside, The boutique was even more luxurious. Warm golden lights drew attention to each handbag as if it were a piece of art. A central display case showcased rare collector's items on plush velvet stands, each accompanied by a small placard detailing its origin and eye-popping price. In the VIP area toward the back, Jessica spotted Marcus deep in conversation with a polished sales associate. Tamara hovered close, occasionally glancing around with palpable excitement, much like someone who had just discovered a treasure trove. From the snippets of conversation Jessica overheard, she guessed Marcus was asking for a special limited edition model, likely a gift for Tamara. A wave of dizziness hit Jessica, forcing her to steady herself against a nearby display shelf. The thought rang in her mind, "He once told me to watch our spending because of the baby." And now, here he was, lavishing money on someone else. Steeling herself, she kept filming. In the background, the soft ting of the electronic door signaled new customers entering, the tap of high-heeled shoes on marble floors, and the gentle hum of conversation mixed with the delicate scent of expensive perfumes. It all felt so distant from the simple happiness she had once believed she possessed in her marriage. Watching Tamara casually pick up a crocodile leather handbag, Jessica felt her breath catch. She turned off her camera, slipping her phone into her purse, hands clenched into fists. It was time for a direct confrontation. She took a slow, determined breath and straightened her back as she stepped out from behind the display shelf. The sound of her heels on polished marble echoed in her ears. Tamara was in mid-sentence, showing the handbag to Marcus, when Jessica's footsteps caught their attention. Marcus turned around, and his expression darkened as if he had just seen a nightmare come to life. Tamara's eyebrows lifted in confusion, her gaze shifting between Jessica and Marcus. The entire boutique seemed to sense the tension, turning quiet as employees and a few other customers glanced over warily. At that moment, Jessica felt like every emotion, anger, heartbreak, betrayal was boiling inside her, ready to spill out. She looked Marcus in the eye, her voice measured but laced with a razor edge. "Marcus, I came to see what business you're so busy with." Nothing more needed to be said. The moment itself laid bare the awkward, painful truth for everyone in range, in a world of extravagant goods and glittering lights. Jessica's worst fears were coming true in public. She was no longer a docile wife, quietly waiting at home. She was now face to face with undeniable infidelity. A stunned hush fell over the boutique. Curious looks and hushed whispers darted among those present. Yet to Jessica, all that mattered was the man she had once loved and the woman who was occupying her place at his side. Her heart pounded, her baby stirred, and a fierce resolve welled up within. Out of love for her child and respect for herself, she would no longer be a bystander in her own life, no matter how bitter or costly this confrontation might be. Stepping into the boutique felt like entering a realm of gilded promises. Polished mirrors and warm, glowing lights highlighted an array of exclusive handbags displayed like museum pieces. A subtle scent of jasmine floated in the air, masking the tension that escalated with each breath Jessica took. Marcus and Tamara were at the far end of the store, speaking with a glamorous sales associate who showcased a limited edition handbag by Parisian designer Émile Dupont. Priced at an astronomical figure, it was the sort of purchase typically reserved for high-flying socialites. Tamara's eyes shone with obvious greed. Marcus, appearing both proud and smug, nodded at the sales associate as though money were no obstacle. Jessica's stomach turned. She recalled how she'd once confided to Marcus that they needed to budget carefully for the baby's upcoming expenses, hospital bills, nursery decorations, and perhaps even a future college fund. His response had been dismissive, urging her not to worry. Now she saw where that don't worry mentality led: extravagant gifts for a mistress. Steadying her nerves, Jessica walked up to the trio. Marcus noticed her first. His eyes widened as blood drained from his face. In that split second, Tamara turned, confusion etched on her features. The sales associate, unaware of the unfolding drama, simply beamed as though Jessica were another potential customer. "Jessica," Marcus choked out, voice shaking. He tried to step toward her, but the air felt charged, as if an invisible barrier held him back. Tamara tilted her head. "And who is this?" she asked coolly, though her eyes flickered with an undercurrent of panic. She'd never seen Jessica in person, but something about the woman's posture and determined stare made her suspect the truth. Jessica placed a hand on her baby bump, refusing to break eye contact with Marcus. "I'm his wife, and I'm carrying his child." A strained hush blanketed the boutique. Even the sales associate, finally sensing tension, took a careful step back. Marcus cleared his throat, stumbling over words. "Jessica, this isn't what it looks like," he started, the cliché hitting the air like a stale joke. Jessica swallowed hard. Her fury was tempered by heartbreak, but she refused to crumble. Tamara looked from Marcus to Jessica, her expression torn between shock and embarrassment. In that moment, the entire veneer of their glamorous escapade collapsed. No matter how carefully Marcus had tried to orchestrate this charade, it was now laid bare under the boutique's soft, unforgiving lights. A hush enveloped the boutique, as though everyone held their breath in unison. Jessica felt her heart thrumming in her ears, but outwardly she maintained a stoic composure. She shifted her gaze from Marcus to Tamara, trying to piece together any remnants of rationale in this surreal scene. Tamara broke the silence first, attempting to salvage her pride. "Marcus, you told me she knew," she said, her voice wavering. It was a last-ditch effort to paint herself as a victim of his lies rather than the architect of betrayal. Marcus stiffened. "I never said that," he muttered, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of guilt. He turned to Jessica, posture awkwardly rigid. "Jess, let's step outside and talk. Please, you're causing a scene." A bitter laugh escaped Jessica's throat. "I'm causing a scene?" she repeated, her voice trembling with anger and heartbreak. "You're the one parading around with another woman while I'm pregnant with your child." She glanced around the boutique. A few other customers pretended to browse handbags, but were clearly listening, riveted by the dramatic spectacle. The sales associate hovered uncertainly by the register, not wanting to escalate the situation, but also uncertain how to diffuse it. At last, Tamara tried to interject. "Look, I didn't realize." Jessica cut her off with a glare that spoke volumes. "You knew exactly what you were getting into," Jessica snapped. The heartbreak in her eyes was searing. "Did you even care that he's a married man about to be a father?" Tamara's cheeks flushed. She stepped back, her posture morphing from bravado to embarrassment. Marcus, evidently anxious that a scene was brewing, reached for Jessica's arm. "Jess, let's not do this in public," he hissed. With surprising fierceness, Jessica yanked her arm free. "No," she stated firmly. "You made this public the moment you walked in here together, acting like I don't exist." "I do exist, Marcus, and so does our baby." Tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but Jessica refused to let them fall. She squared her shoulders, summoning the inner strength she had tapped into countless times before comforting frightened students, dealing with school bureaucracy, even reconciling with her own father's absence. This, however, was a betrayal of an entirely different magnitude. A fleeting, unsettling silence followed. Then, in a voice trembling yet resolute, Jessica said, "Either you come home with me now and we figure out exactly how to fix this, or you stay here and drown in your lies. Your choice." As if on cue, a paparazzi photographer, drawn by the swirl of rumors about Marcus Holcomb's questionable public appearances, entered the boutique with a camera slung over his shoulder. His eyes gleamed with the promise of an exclusive. Marcus's face contorted in panic. He was no stranger to media attention, but this was the kind of scandal that could cripple his carefully curated image. Jessica saw the camera and realized the full implications. Her private heartbreak was about to be plastered on gossip sites and social media. She had no appetite for public humiliation. Summoning what remained of her composure, she turned and headed for the door, ignoring the flashbulbs that began popping. Marcus, momentarily paralyzed, caught a glimpse of Tamara's horrified expression before dashing after Jessica. Tamara tried to follow, but the paparazzo blocked her way, bombarding her with questions. How long have you been together? Does Marcus plan to divorce his wife? She threw on oversized sunglasses, but it was too late. She could already imagine her face on tabloid covers, accompanied by lurid headlines. All at once, the shimmering allure of the Winford Galleria felt suffocating, a gilded cage closing in around her. Meanwhile, Jessica pushed past the boutique's glass doors into the marbled corridor of the Galleria. Shoppers stared, some in curiosity, some with pity. She headed straight for the parking elevator, her breath short and ragged from a mix of anger, heartbreak, and the physical strain of carrying a child in such an emotional storm. Marcus finally caught up, breathless. Jessica, wait. She jabbed the elevator button, refusing to meet his gaze. This is humiliating, she spat. How could you drag me into this circus, especially now? He tried to speak, but words failed him. The elevator doors opened, and Jessica stepped inside. After a moment's hesitation, Marcus followed. The ride down was excruciating in its silence. Each passing floor felt like a countdown to a confrontation neither fully knew how to handle. In the subterranean parking garage, Jessica beelined to her car, fumbling for her keys. Marcus gently placed a hand on her arm. "Let me drive you home," he offered, eyes brimming with regret. Jessica glared at him, tears threatening to betray her resolve. "I'm perfectly capable," she hissed. But when she tried to open the driver's door, a wave of dizziness washed over her. Anxiety, fatigue, and heartbreak converged in a vicious storm. Marcus saw her falter and immediately stepped forward to steady her. For an agonizing second, she allowed herself to lean on him, haunted by the conflicting emotions that swirled around them both. Despite her reluctance, Jessica realized she might not be in the best condition to drive. Her head pounded, and her vision felt momentarily blurred. Marcus guided her to the passenger seat of his sleek black SUV. Reluctantly, she slid inside, arms crossed protectively over her belly. Marcus settled into the driver's seat, the tension between them palpable as he navigated the winding lanes of the parking garage. With every turn, the silence felt heavier. Eventually, he mustered the courage to speak. "Jess, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." His voice trembled, lacking its usual confident flourish. Jessica turned her face to the window, refusing to let him see the tears trailing down her cheeks. "How far did you mean for it to go?" she asked softly, the question laced with bitter irony. "Far enough to buy her designer handbags? Far enough for the tabloids to see you parading her around while I carry your child?" Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. He let out a shaky breath. "I don't have an excuse. Maybe I was scared. Scared of becoming a father, of losing my freedom, of a lot of things. Tamara was a distraction, a mistake." A humorless laugh escaped Jessica's lips. "A mistake that's been going on for how long exactly?" The question hung in the air, each second of his silence a fresh wound. 6 months, he finally admitted, voice cracking. "I swear it wasn't serious, just an escape from everything, from the pressure at work, from..." Jessica whipped her head around, eyes blazing with anger. "From me? From your pregnant wife?" She swallowed, suddenly aware of the baby's soft movements. "You know, I could have been understanding if you'd talked to me, told me about your fears. Instead, you ran off with her, Marcus stared at the road, jaw clenched. He took an exit leading toward their penthouse, the city lights reflecting in the car windows. "I'm not proud of myself," he said at last. "If there's any chance at forgiveness?" "Forgiveness?" Jessica's laugh was choked with tears. "Do you even know what you're asking? My trust is shattered, Marcus. And I can't think about whether you deserve a second chance when I'm busy protecting our child from your lies, from your inability to be a responsible husband." No more words were spoken. The rest of the drive was swallowed by the low hum of the engine and the shared grief that weighed on them both. When they reached the penthouse, Jessica stepped out silently. Marcus hurried around to help her, but she brushed past him, her posture rigid with indignation and heartbreak. The city skyline twinkled beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, an alluring backdrop that only served to highlight the emptiness within. Jessica kicked off her shoes and headed straight for the bedroom, ignoring the marble floors, the curated artwork, the custom furniture luxuries that felt empty now. She recalled how, just a few months ago, she daydreamed about decorating a nursery filled with soft pastel tones. In those fantasies, Marcus had been a doting father-to-be, reading books about pregnancy and proudly accompanying her to medical checkups. The contrast between that dream and today's harsh reality left a bitter taste. Marcus lingered in the living room, grappling with what to do next. Should he give Jessica space or try to speak with her now? The uncertain silence pressed in. Eventually, he headed to the minibar, poured himself a glass of whiskey, and sank into the leather couch. Outside, the hum of traffic murmured, a constant reminder that life went on beyond these walls. Down the hallway, Jessica sat on the edge of the bed, eyes closed, focusing on slow, deliberate breaths. She ran her hand over her belly, feeling a gentle kick. A fresh tear slipped free. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to the baby, voice trembling. "No matter what happens." Her phone buzzed. Vanessa Morgan, her friend and attorney, was calling. Jessica wiped her face, steadied herself, and answered. "I'm here," she said softly. Vanessa didn't waste time. "I saw a gossip website. There are already photos of you, Marcus, and that woman leaving the boutique. Are you okay?" Jessica let out a shaky sigh. "As okay as can be expected. I'm so humiliated, Van." "Listen," Vanessa said gently. "I want you to come to my office tomorrow. We'll talk through your options. Prenuptial agreements, custody rights, property divisions, whatever you decide. You don't have to make a choice now, but I want you to be informed." The practicality of her friend's approach gave Jessica a semblance of control. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes drifting to the slightly ajar bedroom door. Marcus was out there, presumably grappling with his own demons, but she wasn't ready to face him again tonight. She ended the call and stood. For a moment, she considered locking herself in the bedroom, but a flicker of curiosity, perhaps even a piece of lingering love, drew her into the living room. She found Marcus hunched on the couch, whiskey in hand, eyes lost in some distant regret. Jessica approached gingerly, arms folded protectively over her chest. Marcus looked up, the glass of whiskey hovering near his lips. He set it down on the coffee table with a trembling hand. A swirl of unspoken words crackled between them, heavier than the city's neon glow. "Do you want to sit?" Marcus asked quietly, gesturing to the couch. Jessica hesitated, then settled onto a chair opposite him, creating a clear boundary. She needed space both physically and emotionally. For a moment, neither spoke. Jessica studied Marcus's face, noting the dark circles under his eyes, the lines of strain around his mouth. He looked exhausted, but she knew her own reflection would show tear streaks and heartbreak, signs of an emotional war waged within. Finally, Marcus cleared his throat. "I know there's no excuse for what I did," he began, voice hushed, "but I need you to understand. I never stopped loving you." Jessica's eyes flashed with hurt. "Is that supposed to help me feel better?" she asked, tears Threatening again. You never stopped loving me, but you were carrying on with someone else for 6 months? Marcus buried his face in his hands. I can't explain it in a way that will make sense, he said. I was scared of fatherhood, of not measuring up, of everything changing. And Tamara was. An escape. I know it's selfish. But Jess, I swear, it wasn't love. She inhaled slowly, trying to steady her trembling body. Escape from what, exactly? This marriage? Me? She hesitated. Are there things I don't know about? Debt? Health problems? Why didn't you trust me enough to come to me with your fears? Marcus looked up, his eyes raw. I don't have any hidden debts or health issues. I'm just flawed. Maybe I got so used to success that I thought I could have it all without consequences. But now I see the price is too high. A tear slipped down Jessica's cheek, followed by another. Our child is due in a matter of weeks, she whispered. What if I hadn't found out? Would you have introduced Tamara to our baby? Juggled fatherhood with your secret shopping sprees for her? Marcus shook his head vehemently. No, never. I was already thinking of ending it. I just never found the right moment. Jessica rose to her feet, bracing herself against a wave of dizziness. I need space, she declared, voice resolute. I'll decide if I can forgive you or even if I want to. Until then, I'm asking you to keep your distance. Marcus watched her go, his heart pounding with regret. The echoes of her footsteps down the corridor were a grim reminder that words alone might never be enough to mend the rift he'd caused. Morning light filtered through the curtains of the penthouse's lavish bedroom, illuminating a reality Jessica could not escape. She woke with the familiar weight of her pregnancy, tempered by the newly minted heartbreak. Each movement served as a reminder of the fragile life growing inside her and the uncertain world she was bringing this child into. A soft knock came at the door. Jessica, propped up on pillows, responded. Yes? Marcus poked his head in. His expression was tentative, as though stepping onto fragile ice. I made you breakfast, he said. Just some eggs and toast. Figured you might need to eat. She didn't speak. Instead, she stared at the tray he carried fresh squeezed orange juice, scrambled eggs, toast, a small bowl of fresh strawberries. The gesture reminded her of their earlier, happier days. Marcus had often brought her breakfast in bed on weekends, pampering her after a long week of teaching. The memories stung. He placed the tray on a small table near the window, stepping back with caution. I'll let you rest, he mumbled. Before he could leave, Jessica cleared her throat. Marcus, she began, voice quieter than she intended. He turned, a spark of hope in his eyes. Thank you, she said, nodding toward the breakfast. I'm not ready to talk about everything, but I appreciate the gesture. He exhaled a shaky breath. Of course, he said simply, and then retreated, leaving Jessica to her thoughts. Over breakfast, Jessica gazed at the city below. Taxis and cars navigated the streets, people hurried to work, and commerce buzzed on every corner. Life moved on, oblivious to her personal turmoil. A sense of determination welled within her. She might be betrayed, heartbroken, but she was still. Jessica Holcomb, a dedicated teacher, a caring friend, a soon-to-be mother. She refused to let this crisis define her entirely. She dialed Vanessa Morgan's number. Her friend's voice answered, crisp and professional. Vanessa Morgan speaking. It's me, Jessica said. I'd like to come by your office later, if that's still okay. Vanessa's tone softened. Of course, Jess. I'm here to help you however I can. After ending the call, Jessica showered, letting the hot water rinse away some of her tension. She dressed in a comfortable maternity outfit, mindful of her still nauseous stomach and the pressure on her lower back. Gathering her purse, she steeled herself for the crucial conversations ahead. Marcus's mistakes had already shattered her illusions. Now it was time to protect herself and her child, whether that meant forging a new life alone or negotiating a second chance under the strictest of conditions. Vanessa Morgan's office was perched on the 12th floor of a modern high-rise, all sleek glass and chrome. Jessica arrived just past 10, escorted by a polite receptionist into a private conference room. Sunlight bathed the space, reflecting off a long mahogany table where Vanessa greeted her with a warm, concerned smile. "Take a seat, Jess," Vanessa said, closing the door behind them. Her friend wore a tailored navy suit, exuding the confidence and competence that had propelled her through law school. Jessica settled into a chair, feeling both awkward and relieved to be taking a proactive step. Vanessa opened a slim folder. "First things first, I want you to understand your options." "You mentioned a prenuptial agreement with Marcus?" Jessica nodded. "Yes, we signed one a week before the wedding. It outlines asset distribution if we divorce." Vanessa retrieved a copy from her file. "I've reviewed this. It protects a significant portion of Marcus's premarital assets, but it also guarantees you certain payouts if he's at fault. Infidelity is explicitly mentioned as a breach that grants you a larger settlement." Jessica blinked. She'd nearly forgotten that detail, given how rushed that period was. Wedding preparations, family gatherings, the swirl of excitement. "What about custody of the baby?" she asked, her voice wavering. Vanessa's tone turned gentle. "Family courts typically prioritize the child's best interests. With your stable background and no criminal history, primary custody would be strongly in your favor, especially for an infant. Marcus's visitation rights would come into play, but we can negotiate terms. There's also child support, which would be significant given his income." The words felt heavy. Jessica fiddled with the hem of her blouse. "Van, one don't know if I'm ready to end this marriage. Part of me still loves him, or at least loves the man he was. But how do I trust him again?" Vanessa leaned forward, placing a supportive hand on Jessica's. "You don't have to decide this minute. Sometimes couples can salvage their relationship, even after a betrayal. Counseling, honest communication, boundaries. But you should know your legal standing in case you choose to separate." Jessica swallowed, tears tugging at the edges of her eyes. "I just can't believe this is happening. Less than a year ago, we were talking about baby names and planning nursery themes. Now I'm in a lawyer's office, figuring out if I should walk away." Vanessa offered a soft, encouraging smile. "You're not alone. Whatever choice you make, do it from a place of strength and clarity, not fear." Jessica nodded, eyes drifting to the window. Even high above the bustling city, she couldn't escape the noise of doubt in her mind. Nonetheless, knowledge was power, and she was determined not to remain a victim of Marcus's indiscretions. News of Marcus's public confrontation at Winford Galleria spread faster than wildfire. Tabloids had a field day, running headlines like "Millionaire Holcomb caught red-handed, with Mistress pregnant wife confronts both." Social media teemed with speculation, memes, and harsh critiques. Even business associates began asking pointed questions, concerned about the scandal's impact on Marcus's brand and ventures. Under immense pressure, Marcus decided to issue a public statement. He reached out to a trusted PR advisor, who arranged a small press conference at a neutral venue, a luxury hotel conference room. Jessica watched the announcement on a streaming link, choosing to stay home rather than stand beside him in a show of support. She wasn't ready to give. Standing at a podium, Marcus faced a handful of reporters and cameras. Dressed in a somber navy suit, he wore a contrite expression. "I want to address the rumors circulating about my personal life," he began, voice subdued. "Recently, I betrayed the trust of my wife, Jessica Holcomb, and I acknowledge that my actions have caused her immense pain. I take full responsibility." He paused, clearing his throat as camera shutters clicked. "Jessica is my wife, the mother of our unborn child, and the person who stood by me through every challenge. I deeply regret the hurt I've inflicted, I'm committed to earning back her trust if she allows me and ensuring our child grows up in a loving environment." The room buzzed with reporters' whispers. One journalist asked, "Are you ending your relationship with Tamara Price?" Marcus nodded, steel in his gaze. "My association with Miss Price is over. My focus is on doing right by my wife and child." Another asked, "Any truth to rumors that you've offered Miss Price hush money to stay quiet?" Marcus tightened his jaw. "No, Miss Price is free to speak her truth. I have nothing to hide anymore." A few more questions followed, but Marcus offered only measured, diplomatic responses. Then he stepped away from the podium, shoulders sagging as the press lunged for more details. Security escorted him out. Watching from her penthouse living room, Jessica felt a swirl of emotions: anger, sadness, a flicker of empathy. She believed that the Marcus standing at that podium was genuinely remorseful, yet a public apology wasn't the same as a personal reckoning. Time would tell if he truly had the capacity for lasting change, or if this was merely damage control. Still, part of her recognized a small spark of hope. Perhaps the man she'd married was fighting to come back from the brink of self-destruction. That evening, Jessica gathered her courage to confront Marcus in person. She found him in the penthouse study, standing by a large window overlooking the city. He turned at her approach, the tension in his shoulders palpable. "Your press conference," Jessica said quietly. "I saw it." Marcus exhaled, eyes flickering with anxiety. "I meant every word," he replied. "I'll do anything: counseling, therapy, a postnuptial agreement, whatever it takes." His voice trembled, sincerity evident, but Jessica had learned that words were cheap without sustained action. She nodded, moving closer. "I've talked to Vanessa. I know my rights. If I walk away, I won't be penniless. More importantly, I know I can raise this child on my own if I must." Her directness seemed to knock the wind out of him. He swallowed. "I'm sure you can. You'd be a fantastic mother, with or without me. But, Jess, I want to be part of our child's life. I want to be the husband you deserve, if there's still a chance." The ache in Jessica's chest flared, a reminder of the heartbreak she still felt. "I can't just forget what happened," she said, tears threatening to well up. "Every time I think of you buying gifts for her, it's like a knife in my gut. How do we move forward when the foundation is cracked?" Marcus stepped toward her. She allowed him to gently take her hand. "We rebuild," he said softly, "brick by brick, day by day. I'll go to therapy, talk to a counselor about my fears of fatherhood. I'll share every step with you, my phone, my emails, total transparency." For a moment, Jessica let her guard down, leaning her forehead against his chest. She felt his hand slide around her back, hesitantly, as if he feared she might vanish. "I'm so tired," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Tired of crying, tired of feeling betrayed, tired of not knowing what tomorrow holds." Marcus held her closer, voice breaking. "I understand, and I'm sorry. I wish I could go back and undo it all." They stood there in fragile silence, the city lights twinkling beyond the glass, bearing witness to their private turmoil. Jessica inhaled deeply, wiping her eyes. "If we try to salvage this," she began, pulling back to look at him, "it'll be on my terms. Therapy is mandatory. Any slip-up, any deception, I'm done. Do you agree?" Marcus nodded without hesitation. "I agree." Jessica closed her eyes, thinking of her unborn child's future. She wasn't promising forgiveness or an immediate happy ending, but for now, she would give Marcus a chance to earn back what he had lost. 1 week later, Jessica and Marcus sat on a plush couch in a cozy therapist's office. Soft sunlight poured in through a large window overlooking a tranquil garden. A framed diploma on the wall identified the therapist as Dr. Alicia Perlman, a specialist in couples counseling and familial conflicts. Tension still simmered between them, but a shared determination to seek help had guided them to this space. Jessica spoke first, her voice shaky yet resolute. She detailed the betrayal, the heartbreak, and her lingering fears. Marcus, eyes lowered, confessed his insecurities about fatherhood, how he worried he wouldn't be good enough, how the demands of his business empire and personal life overwhelmed him. It was the first time Jessica heard him articulate those anxieties so honestly. "Doctor," Perlman listened intently, asking pointed questions that forced both husband and wife to confront their emotional scars. "Trust isn't rebuilt in a day," she reminded them gently. "It's a process of consistent honesty, empathy, and remorse. It will hurt. It will feel impossible at times. But if both parties commit, healing can occur." They emerged from the session emotionally drained, yet oddly hopeful. Marcus escorted Jessica to his car. She allowed him to hold her elbow, a small gesture of acceptance. In the weeks that followed, they adopted a new routine. Jessica leaned on Vanessa Morgan for emotional support, but also updated her on any improvements in Marcus's behavior. She wanted a clear exit strategy if he ever regressed. Marcus made good on his pledge for transparency, granting Jessica unrestricted access to his phone, social media, and financial statements. He even severed all ties with Tamara Price, hiring a neutral mediator to handle any residual issues. Meanwhile, Jessica prepared for her baby's arrival, attending Lamar's classes, finalizing the nursery decor, and gradually letting Marcus back into her life. Some evenings, they would stand in the nursery together, painting walls and discussing potential names. Those moments felt fragile but precious, like the first rays of dawn after a devastating storm. When Jessica finally went into labor, it was a frantic rush to the hospital. Marcus stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand through every contraction, tears in his eyes as he whispered encouragement. In the delivery room, amidst beeping monitors and the flurry of medical staff, their daughter Lily Holcomb entered the world with a powerful cry. Tears streamed down Jessica's face. Marcus held Lily, his expression awash with awe. In that moment, Jessica glimpsed a man devoted to his family, not the millionaire searching for cheap thrills or escapes. Of course, time would tell if his remorse and dedication would stand firm. But for now, mother, father, and newborn daughter stood on the threshold of a new beginning, one that, with patience and honesty, might finally bring them the enduring happiness they both craved. In the end, Marcus Holcomb's reckless indiscretion threatened to shatter everything he had built: his marriage, his reputation, and the stability of his unborn child's future. But with heartbreak came the chance for redemption. Jessica, initially overwhelmed by betrayal, found an inner strength she never knew she had. Armed with legal advice, unwavering friends, and the knowledge that she deserved better, she carved out a path forward on her own terms. Their journey was far from perfect. Mending trust took countless tears, uncomfortable counseling sessions, and daily proof of Marcus's commitment. Yet the moment they welcomed baby Lily into the world, hope outweighed despair. While no one could guarantee a storybook ending, they each learned that genuine remorse, transparency, and love could spark the possibility of true healing. Thank you for experiencing this emotional roller coaster with us. If you felt every twist and turn, please like this video, share it with friends who love a gripping real-life drama, and subscribe for more tales of heartbreak, redemption, and the power of second chances. Stay tuned for our next enthralling story.